The sun peeked through the curtains of Emma Patel's small, cozy apartment, casting soft, golden rays across her collection of houseplants. Each morning began the same way for her, a ritual of watering her verdant companions. The air was filled with the earthy scent of soil mixed with the faint perfume of flowers, creating a calming atmosphere that enveloped her like a warm embrace. She loved this part of her day. As a personal shopper, her life was often chaotic, filled with last-minute requests and an endless stream of clients. But in this tranquil moment, surrounded by the lush greenery, she found solace. Emma knelt down beside a particularly vibrant pothose, its leaves trailing like cascading waterfalls. She gently poured water into the pot, watching as it soaked into the soil, nourishing the roots. "You're going to grow so big and strong," she murmured, her fingers brushing over the smooth leaves. Talking to her plants was a habit she picked up years ago. It felt natural, almost like conversing with old friends. As she moved from plant to plant, Emma's mind wandered. She recalled the day she first started collecting these plants. It was a sunny Saturday, just a few blocks away from her apartment, at a quaint little nursery. The owner had been kind and knowledgeable, sharing tips on care and propagation. She remembered feeling a spark of joy as she loaded her arms with small pots, imagining how they would transform her space. Each plant held a story, a fragment of her life. But today felt different. There was a strange energy in the air, almost electric, as if something extraordinary was about to unfold. The usual sounds of the neighborhood, the laughter of children playing outside, the distant hum of traffic were intermingled with an unfamiliar vibration. It was subtle at first, like the faint buzz of an unseen force. Emma paused, her watering can halfway to the next plant, her curiosity piqued. She shook her head, dismissing the feeling. Perhaps it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. "Focus, Emma," she whispered to herself, chuckling lightly. "You've got plants to water." She resumed her routine, but the sensation lingered, tugging at her thoughts, making her feel as though she were on the cusp of discovering something significant. As she finished up, the phone on her kitchen counter buzzed, breaking the silence. Emma glanced at the screen. It was a call from one of her regular clients, Mrs. Klein. A slight frown crossed her face. What does she want now? Emma thought. But she knew better than to ignore the call. Sighing, she wiped her hands on a dish towel and picked up the phone. "Good morning, Mrs. Klein," she greeted cheerfully, trying to mask her annoyance. "Emma. Thank goodness you answered. I need your help with a new delivery of exotic plants that just arrived at the shop," Mrs. Klein exclaimed, her voice brimming with excitement. "Of course. I'll head over right away," Emma replied, her spirit lifting at the thought of fresh plants. Just the idea of colorful blooms and exotic leaves was enough to brighten her day. "Thank you, dear. Oh, and can you bring those lovely ferns you have? They would look perfect in the display," Mrs. Klein added. "Absolutely, I'll grab them," Emma confirmed, already imagining the fern's lush green fronds complementing the new arrivals. As she wrapped up the call, a strange sound caught her attention, a low, rhythmic hum that seemed to resonate from outside. It was unlike anything she'd ever heard before. The hum grew louder and more pronounced, making the hair on her arms stand on end. Emma instinctively moved toward the window, her heart racing with a mix of apprehension and intrigue. She peered out into her small garden, which was dappled with sunlight. It was a modest space, adorned with her plants, but today it felt different, charged with an energy she couldn't quite place. The hum intensified, vibrating through the air, and without thinking, Emma stepped outside to investigate, her curiosity getting the better of her. As she crossed the threshold into her garden, the world around her seemed to hold its breath. The sound was now accompanied by a shimmering light, casting an otherworldly glow over her plants. "What on earth?" she murmured, her heart pounding in her chest. At the far end of her garden, near the old oak tree, stood a figure that seemed to blend with the light. It was tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like the surface of a soap bubble, reflecting hues of blue and green. Emma squinted, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Was this a trick of the light? Or was she truly witnessing something extraordinary? "Hello," she called, her voice wavering slightly as she took a cautious step forward. The figure turned to face her, and Emma was taken aback by its large, luminous eyes that held a depth of emotion she couldn't comprehend. The figure knelt down, its movements graceful and deliberate, almost reverent. "Do not be afraid, Earth inhabitant," it said, its voice melodic and soothing, resonating in her mind. "I am Zektar, a traveler from a distant world. I seek your help." Emma stood frozen for a moment, absorbing the weight of the situation. An alien? In her garden? This was too surreal to process. Yet, there was a calmness to Zektar that eased her initial shock. "What do you need help with?" she found herself asking, her instincts of compassion kicking in. "I come from a planet that is suffering," Zektar explained, its gaze unwavering. "Our ecosystem is failing, and I believe your plants, their vitality, could save my home." As Emma listened, a rush of emotions flooded through her. The urgency in the alien's voice resonated with her. She had spent her life caring for plants, nurturing them, and now she had the chance to make a difference beyond her wildest dreams. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Emma felt a sense of purpose blossom within her. She took a deep breath, ready to embrace this unexpected twist in her morning routine. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of an extraordinary adventure that would challenge her understanding of life, love, and the universe itself. As Emma wrapped up her call with Mrs. Klein, a familiar comfort washed over her. The anticipation of fresh, exotic plants was invigorating, yet the strange hum outside persisted, almost beckoning her to investigate. She felt a curious tug at her heart, urging her to step outside her cozy apartment and into the vibrant world that awaited her just beyond the door. Emma opened the door and stepped into her garden, where the sun filtered through the leaves, casting playful shadows on the ground. It was a small haven, filled with an array of plants that she had lovingly nurtured. Each one had its own story, from the tiny succulents she had rescued from a clearance shelf to the majestic fern that had thrived under her care for years. But today, something was undeniably different. The air crackled with an energy she couldn't quite explain, making her feel as though the universe had shifted ever so slightly. The hum was now a low, resonant vibration, echoing around her, and she found herself drawn toward it, step by step, as if it were a melody calling her to dance. "Hello," she called out tentatively, her voice mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves. The hum softened, and for a moment, she thought she could hear a response, something like a whisper slithering through the air. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine, a mix of excitement and apprehension. She moved further into her garden, her heart racing as she approached the old oak tree at the far end. It was there, beneath its sprawling branches, that she caught her first glimpse of the shimmering figure. Her breath caught in her throat. The being appeared to be a blend of light and color, shifting and morphing as if it were made of the very essence of the sun itself. Is that real?" Emma whispered, unable to tear her gaze away. The figure turned, and she could see its large, luminous eyes, deep wells of emotion that seemed to hold a universe of wisdom. It knelt gracefully on the grass, its movements fluid and ethereal, as if it were part of the very air around it. "Do not fear, Earth inhabitant," the figure spoke, its voice a melody that resonated within her mind rather than through her ears. "I am Zektar, a traveler from a distant world. I seek your help." Emma blinked, trying to process this surreal encounter. "Help? With what?" she asked, her voice steadying as her curiosity overtook her initial shock. "My planet is suffering from an ecological disaster," Zektar explained, its expression earnest. "Our flora is dying, and we have lost the ability to nurture our environment. I believe the plants you care for," Zektar gestured toward her garden, "hold the key to saving my home." Emma felt a surge of emotion at the alien's plea. The vibrant life she had cultivated in her little corner of the world could potentially save an entire planet? It was a thought both exhilarating and daunting. "But how can I help?" she asked, her heart racing as the weight of the situation began to sink in. Zektar rose to its full height, towering over her yet radiating warmth rather than intimidation. "Your knowledge of these plants, your understanding of their needs, is what I seek. Together, we can gather the species that will flourish in my world." Emma's mind raced. She had always loved her plants, but now they seemed to represent something greater, a bridge between her life and the cosmos. "I've never done anything like this before," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. What if I fail? Humans possess a unique resilience, Zektar replied, a gentle smile forming on its lips. It is this very quality that has led to your species' survival. I believe you are capable of more than you know. In that moment, Emma felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. If she could help, she would not only be saving Zektar's planet but also discovering her own strength. All right, she said, determination settling into her bones. Let's do it. With a nod of approval from Zektar, they began to discuss the specifics of their mission. Emma shared her knowledge of local plants, from medicinal herbs to vibrant flowers that thrived in her garden. Zektar listened intently, absorbing every detail as if Emma were imparting ancient secrets. Your ferns, for example. They are resilient and can adapt to various climates, Emma said, pointing to the lush green fronds that danced gently in the breeze. They could be invaluable on my planet, where the soil has become dry and inhospitable. Zektar's eyes sparkled with interest. Then it is settled. We will start with your ferns. I can sense a connection between them and the vitality of my world. Emma felt a rush of excitement at the prospect of their collaboration. What else do we need? I have a few more plants in mind that I think could help, she continued, her passion igniting as they brainstormed together. Zektar seemed fascinated by everything Emma described, asking questions and offering insights that deepened their conversation. They spoke about the importance of each plant, the role they played in the ecosystem, and how they could be used to restore balance in Zektar's world. As they planned, Emma found herself lost in the possibilities of their mission, the hum outside now feeling like a promise of hope. As they finished outlining their strategy, Zektar looked at her with sincerity that melted Emma's heart. Thank you, Emma. Your willingness to help means more than you can imagine. I sense that our worlds are intertwined now, and together we can achieve what we both need. Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. I've always believed plants have a way of connecting us to one another, she said. I never imagined they could connect us across the universe. Indeed, Zektar replied, its voice softening. And now, let us begin our journey. Emma nodded, fueled by a newfound purpose that felt electrifying. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This was more than just a mission, it was an adventure that could change lives, both human and alien. As she stood beside Zektar, she felt as though the world had opened up in front of her, filled with endless possibilities. Together, they would embark on a journey that would not only save a distant planet but also redefine what it meant to nurture life, in all its forms. Emma stood there, absorbing Zektar's revelation, her mind racing with the implications of what he had just shared. The vibrant colors of her garden seemed to shimmer as if in response to the urgency of the alien's plea. Your planet is suffering, she repeated, a mixture of disbelief and empathy flooding her senses. How could something so far away affect us here? Zektar knelt down, staring intently into her eyes. Our worlds are connected in ways you may not understand. The health of one affects the other. If my planet continues to decline, it will send ripples throughout the universe. I believe your plants can help us heal the damage we've done. Emma felt a knot tightening in her stomach, both from the weight of Zektar's words and the responsibility they entailed. But I'm just a personal shopper, she stammered, feeling woefully inadequate in the face of such a monumental task. What can I do to help? With a gentle smile, Zektar reached out, brushing his fingers against the leaves of a nearby fern. You are not just anything, Emma. Your understanding of plants, your nurturing spirit, is what I need. You possess knowledge that can save an entire ecosystem. Taking a deep breath, Emma tried to gather her thoughts. All right, let's say I wanted to help. What exactly do we need to do? Zektar rose to his full height, towering yet strangely comforting. We need to identify the plants that can thrive in my world's unique conditions. I have studied your Earth's flora, but I need your expertise to choose the right species. We must collect seeds and cuttings, and prepare them for transport. Emma's mind began to whirl. She knew her plants well, but she had never thought about them in terms of intergalactic travel or ecological preservation. What kind of plants are you looking for? The resilient ones, Zektar replied, his voice steady. The ones that can survive harsh environments. I believe your ferns, succulents, and perhaps some of your hardy herbs could make a difference. But what if they don't survive when you take them back? She asked, a hint of worry creeping into her voice. What if I choose the wrong ones? Zektar's eyes sparkled with a warmth that soothed her worries. That is where your nurturing skills come into play. With care and the right conditions, they will adapt. Trust in your abilities, Emma. Feeling a flicker of hope alongside her anxiety, Emma nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it. But I need to know more about your planet. What's the environment like? What do the plants need to thrive there? Zektar's expression turned serious as he began to explain. My world, Zephyria, was once a lush paradise full of diverse plant and animal life. However, over the years, pollution and mismanagement have ravaged the land. The soil is now dry and barren in many areas, and the native flora is struggling to survive. The plants of Earth, with their unique adaptations, may hold the key to revitalizing my planet. Emma listened intently, her heart racing at the thought of such a profound impact. So if we can find the right plants, they could help restore your world? Exactly, Zektar affirmed, his eyes brightening. Together, we can bring new life to Zephyria. It will not be easy, but I believe it is possible. A surge of determination washed over Emma, igniting a passion within her that had always been there but was often overshadowed by her daily routines. All right, let's start planning. We need to gather what we can and make sure they're ready for the journey. As they discussed logistics, the garden around them seemed to come alive with possibilities. Emma pointed out various plants she had nurtured over the years, each with its own story and purpose. This lavender here has calming properties, the bees love it. She smiled, recalling how she often spent hours tending to her plants, finding solace in their growth. And these ferns are incredibly hardy. They've survived everything from droughts to pests. Zektar listened, fascinated by her enthusiasm. Your connection to these plants is strong. That bond will help us succeed. Emma's heart swelled at the compliment. She had always thought of her plants as companions, but now they felt like allies in a much larger mission. What else do we need to do? I can start gathering supplies, maybe some pots for cuttings and soil. Zektar nodded. Yes, and we will also need to research any special conditions they might require. I can assist with the technology to ensure the plants are kept in optimal conditions during transport. Technology? Emma's curiosity piqued. What kind of technology do you have? A grin broke across Zektar's face, illuminating his features. Advanced systems that regulate temperature, humidity, and light. It's unlike anything you have here. But I will need your help to adapt it to the plant's needs. Sounds like a plan. Emma exclaimed, feeling more energized than ever. We can make this work, Zektar. We just have to believe in our abilities. Zektar stepped closer, his presence both grounding and electrifying. I have faith in you, Emma. Together, we can bridge the gap between our worlds. As they continued discussing their plans, Emma felt a newfound sense of purpose. The alien's hope felt intertwined with her own, creating a bond that was both exhilarating and terrifying. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. She had never imagined that watering her plants would lead to such an extraordinary adventure. With each detail they fleshed out, Emma envisioned the possibilities, a thriving Zephyria filled with the vibrant life of Earth's plants. They would not only save a distant world but also forge a friendship that transcended space and time. Suddenly, the atmosphere around them shifted, a sense of urgency creeping in as the realization of their mission settled in. They had a long road ahead of them, filled with challenges and unknowns. But Emma felt ready to face whatever came their way, her heart filled with determination and hope. Let's get to work, she said, her voice steady. We have a planet to save. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over her garden, Emma knew this was just the beginning of an incredible journey. Together, she and Zektar would venture into the unknown, armed with knowledge, courage, and an unbreakable bond. Emma listened intently as Zektar began to share the details of his home, a distant planet known as Zephyria. Our world was once a lush paradise, filled with vibrant flora and fauna, he explained, his voice filled with a mixture of pride and sorrow. But over the years, pollution and neglect have ravaged the land. The soil is parched, and many of our native plants are now extinct or struggling to survive. The weight of his words settled heavily in the air between them. Emma could see the deep concern etched on Zektar's face, his alien features reflecting a profound sense of loss. I came to Earth because I believed that your plants might hold the key to revitalizing my world. The unique adaptations and resilience of Earth's flora could help restore what has been lost. Emma's heart raced as she absorbed this information. The plants she tended to every day were not just her hobby, they could potentially save an entire planet. So if we can find the right plants, they could help restore your world, she asked, her voice a mix of excitement and determination. Exactly, Zektar confirmed, his eyes sparkling with hope. Together, we can bring new life to Zephyria. But we must act quickly, time is not on our side. A surge of determination washed over Emma. All right, let's start planning. What do we need to do first? She felt a fire ignite within her, a purpose stronger than she had ever known. Zektar took a moment to collect his thoughts. First, we need to gather as much information as possible about the plants on your planet. I will need your expertise to identify the species that can thrive in my world's conditions. Then we can figure out how to transport them safely. Emma nodded vigorously. I can start gathering supplies, like pots for cuttings and soil. We can also look into resources for researching the specific needs of each plant. As they began to outline their plan, Emma felt a rush of excitement. The garden around them transformed from a simple collection of her beloved plants into a battleground for survival, a place where life and hope could intertwine. This lavender, she pointed out, has calming properties, and the bees absolutely love it. It might be perfect for your world. Zektar leaned closer, examining the lavender with keen interest. Incredible! Your connection to these plants is strong. That bond will help us succeed in our mission. Emma's heart swelled at the compliment. She had always seen her plants as companions, but now they felt like allies in a much larger quest. We should document each plant's traits. What else do we need to take into account? Zektar's expression turned serious again. We will also need to consider the climate of Zephyria. The plants must be able to withstand the conditions they will face once we transport them. I can assist with technology that regulates temperature and humidity, but I need your guidance on which plants can adapt. Emma felt invigorated by the challenge. I know a lot of plants that could work. The ferns in my garden are incredibly hardy, they've survived everything from droughts to pests. We should also consider some of the flowering plants, they might brighten your world and attract more pollinators. Zektar smiled, the warmth of his expression easing some of Emma's nerves. Your knowledge is invaluable. Together, we can make this happen. I trust your instincts. As they delved deeper into their conversation, Emma found herself envisioning a future where Zephyria thrived once again. The thought of helping not just one world but two filled her with hope. We can do this, Zektar. We just have to believe in our abilities and work together. Indeed, he said, his voice steady. The strength of your spirit is as vital as the plants we will gather. I sense an extraordinary potential within you, Emma. His words struck a chord deep within her. She had always felt a little out of place, as if she were meant for something more significant than her daily routines. Thank you, Zektar. That means a lot to me, she replied, her voice softening. I've always loved these plants, but I never imagined I could help someone, let alone another planet. As the sun began to set, casting a golden light over her garden, the air crackled with possibilities. Emma felt a connection to Zektar that transcended their differences. It was as if they were woven together by fate, two beings from vastly different worlds working toward a common goal. Let's get to work, Emma said, her voice brimming with determination. We have a planet to save. The words felt monumental, echoing in her mind as she began to gather her tools. Zektar watched her with admiration as she moved through the garden with purpose. She cut back some of the overgrown plants, carefully selecting the healthiest specimens to take cuttings from. I'll prepare the pots and soil, she called back to him, her heart racing with exhilaration. As she worked, Emma felt the familiar joy that gardening brought her, but this time it was amplified. Each plant she touched felt like a step closer to saving Zephyria. The gentle rustle of leaves, the rich smell of damp earth, and the vibrant colors of the flowers surrounded her, creating a symphony of life that resonated with hope. Zektar approached her, observing her with keen interest. "You have a unique bond with your plants, Emma. It's as if they respond to your emotions." Emma paused, wiping her brow with the back of her hand. "I guess I've always felt a connection to nature. Taking care of these plants gives me a sense of purpose. I never thought I'd be using my knowledge to help an alien world, though." Zektar chuckled softly, a sound that warmed Emma's heart. "You are destined for greatness, Emma Patel. Your compassion and understanding are what my people need." As they continued their preparations, Emma felt a new wave of purpose wash over her. This was no longer just about her plants, it was about saving a world, a mission that transcended her daily life. "We'll document everything," she said, excitement bubbling in her chest. "We should create a guide for the plants that will thrive in your environment." "Yes. A manual for Zephyria," Zektar agreed, his enthusiasm matching hers. "This will help ensure that the plants we gather can be cultivated properly once we arrive." With renewed energy, they worked late into the evening, gathering cuttings, discussing plant care, and imagining the lush gardens they could create on Zephyria. Emma felt as though she was part of something much larger than herself, a mission that could change the fate of an entire planet. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. With every pot she filled, Emma could almost see the vibrant colors of Zephyria coming back to life in her mind. Together with Zektar, they were weaving a new reality, and she was ready to dive into this adventure with all her heart. As Emma and Zektar worked side by side, the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon with hues of orange and pink. The air buzzed with the sounds of evening, crickets chirping, the distant laughter of children playing, the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. It was a familiar scene, yet this day felt uniquely vibrant and alive. Emma's heart raced with excitement, her mind racing as they began to gather the plants that could save Zektar's world. "Which one should we start with?" Emma asked, her hands already moving toward the ferns. She knew these plants thrived in her garden, and their resilience made them a perfect candidate for the mission ahead. Zektar observed her with a glimmer of appreciation in his eyes. "The ferns are an excellent choice. They possess a unique ability to adapt to various environments. Let us begin there." With a glint of determination, Emma set to work, carefully cutting the healthiest fronds from the base of the ferns. Each snip felt significant. She imagined the life they could bring to Zephyria. "These will be perfect for your planet. They can help stabilize the soil and provide shelter for small creatures," she said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. Zektar nodded, his gaze focused on her hands as she worked. "You have a deep understanding of these plants, Emma. It is a valuable gift. Your knowledge will be instrumental in this endeavor." Emma paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. She had always loved gardening, but hearing Zektar affirm her skills gave her a newfound sense of purpose. "I never thought I could make such an impact." "Helping you feels right," she admitted, a smile spreading across her face. They continued to gather ferns, and Emma felt a surge of energy with each plant they collected. "I think we should also consider some flowering plants. They might attract pollinators to your world," she suggested, her mind racing with ideas. "Indeed," Zektar replied, his voice steady. "The flora of your world is diverse, and each type holds potential. We should explore every option available to us." As they moved through her garden, Emma introduced Zektar to a variety of plants. "This here is the lavender," she explained, pointing to the vibrant purple flowers. "It's known for its calming properties. Just imagine how beautiful it would look on your planet, and the scent could bring comfort to your people." Zektar leaned closer, inspecting the delicate blooms. "It is beautiful. The colors are vivid, unlike anything I have seen on Zephyria. I can see how it could provide both aesthetic and emotional benefits." Emma beamed at his words, her heart swelling with pride. "And over here, we have some daisies. They're hardy and can grow in a variety of conditions. They might be just what you need." As they continued their exploration, Emma felt Zektar's curiosity about Earth deepen. He asked questions about the plants, their uses, and how they thrived in different climates. Each answer she provided sparked more interest in his eyes, and Emma found herself sharing not just facts but stories about her life, her childhood garden, and the joy each plant had brought her over the years. "You seem to have an extraordinary bond with nature," Zektar observed, his voice low and thoughtful. "It is a connection that resonates with the essence of life itself." Emma shrugged, feeling slightly shy under his gaze. "I guess I've always found peace in tending to my plants. It's like they understand me in a way that people sometimes don't. They don't judge, they just grow." Zektar nodded, a look of understanding passing between them. "Your people possess a unique ability to form connections, not just with each other but with the natural world. It is something we have lost on Zephyria, and it is a loss we feel deeply." Emma sensed the weight of his words. She could see how much this mission meant to him, not just for his planet, but for the essence of life itself. "I can help you bring that connection back. Together, we can create a new beginning for Zephyria." With renewed determination, they filled their baskets with ferns, lavender, and daisies, discussing logistics and the best ways to transport the plants safely. Emma jotted down notes for their guide, her mind racing with ideas. "We should document how to care for each plant, especially since they will be introduced to a new environment," she said, scribbling furiously in her notebook. "I agree. If we prepare properly, we can ensure they thrive," Zektar replied, his enthusiasm matching hers. "Your attention to detail is commendable." As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the garden, Emma felt a surge of excitement. The thought of saving a planet filled her with purpose. "I can't believe this is happening," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. "I'm just a personal shopper, and now I'm part of something so much bigger." Zektar turned to her, his expression serious yet filled with warmth. "You are not just a personal shopper, Emma. You are a steward of life, a caretaker of your world. Your actions today will echo through the annals of time on Zephyria." His words resonated within her, stirring something deep inside. Emma had always felt a bit out of place, as if she were meant for something greater. Now, standing here with Zektar, she could finally see her purpose. "Thank you, Zektar. That means more to me than you know." They shared a moment of silence, the weight of their mission hanging in the air like an unspoken promise. Then Emma broke the silence, her excitement bubbling over. "Okay, what's next?" "We have so much to do. Next, we will need to gather more specimens." "There are many more plants that could serve our purpose," Zektar replied, a spark of excitement igniting in his eyes. Emma nodded eagerly, ready to dive back into her garden. "Let's get to it then. We have a planet to save." And with that declaration, they plunged back into the heart of her garden, the sun setting behind them, casting a golden hue over their work. Emma felt her heart race with exhilaration, knowing that together, they were embarking on a journey that would not only change Zektar's world but also transform her own in ways she had yet to understand. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. With every plant they collected, Emma could feel the weight of their mission growing heavier, but instead of being daunting, it felt empowering. Each step brought them closer to a future that seemed more promising than ever. As Emma and Zektar delved deeper into their mission, the sun began to rise higher, casting warm rays over the garden. The plants seemed to bask in the sunlight, their colors vibrant and alive. Emma had always found solace in her small oasis of greenery, and now it felt even more meaningful with Zektar by her side. However, as they gathered more plants, Emma noticed a shift in the atmosphere around them. The neighbors had begun to whisper. She could see them peeking through their windows, casting curious glances at the unusual sight of her new friend, the alien. Zektar, with his shimmering skin and unique features, undoubtedly piqued their interest, but Emma could sense the skepticism brewing. She turned to him, her heart racing, unsure of how to shield him from the judgment of those who didn't understand. "Zektar," she said softly, "I think we need to be cautious about how we go about this. People can be, well, they can be unkind to what they don't understand." Zektar looked at her, his large eyes reflecting a mix of confusion and concern. "But why would they be unkind? I am here to help, and your plants are extraordinary. Surely they can see the benefit in what we are doing." Emma sighed, raking her fingers through her hair. It's not always that simple. People fear what they don't know. They might see you as a threat instead of a friend. His expression shifted to one of contemplation. Fear is an interesting concept. On Zephyria, we seek to understand our fears to mitigate them. Perhaps I could share my story with them? Show them that I am not a danger but an ally. That might work, Emma replied, her mind racing with ideas. But we need to build trust first. Maybe we can invite them over, have a little gathering. You can talk about Zephyria and how important these plants are. A flicker of hope ignited in her chest. If they could educate their neighbors, perhaps they could foster understanding instead of fear. Let's do it, Emma said, her enthusiasm growing. We'll make it a plant exchange. You can share the importance of biodiversity and how crucial these earth plants are for your planet. People love community events. It might bring everyone together. Zektar nodded, his expression brightening. That is a splendid idea, Emma. I can prepare a presentation about our ecosystems, how they are similar to yours. Perhaps it will resonate with them. After brainstorming for a while, they decided to set a date for the event. Emma began planning the logistics, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She started creating flyers, listing the various plants they would showcase and inviting her neighbors to learn more about both Earth flora and Zephyria's plight. However, Emma's excitement was met with skepticism from her neighbors. As she handed out flyers, some folded them without a word, while others muttered under their breath. "What's that alien doing here?" one of them scoffed. Emma's heart sank. "Just ignore them," Zektar said gently as he noticed her disappointment. "Fear often manifests as hostility. We can show them kindness instead. Invite them to see the beauty of these plants." His words resonated with Emma, but the tension in the air was palpable. As the day of the event approached, she felt a knot in her stomach. Would they truly come? The evening before the plant exchange, Emma sat on her porch, watering her plants while Zektar prepared his presentation. The soft sound of water splashing against the soil was soothing, and she took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. "Do you think they will come?" she asked, glancing at Zektar, who was arranging visuals on a small tablet. "Whether they come or not, we will still have made an effort." "That in itself is valuable," he replied, not looking up from his work. "And if they do come, they may just find that they have more in common with us than they realize." Emma smiled, appreciating his unwavering optimism. "You know, I think you might be right. Maybe they just need a little push to see things differently." As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the garden, Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She was grateful for Zektar's support, for the plants that had brought them together, and for the opportunity to make a difference. The day of the event dawned bright and clear. Emma woke early, her heart racing with anticipation. She set up tables in her garden, displaying the various plants they had collected, ferns, daisies, and lavender, each one carefully labeled. Zektar, dressed in a simple shirt that blended more with earth aesthetics, helped her arrange everything, his gentle hands careful not to damage the delicate leaves. As the hour approached, Emma's excitement mingled with anxiety. She stood at the entrance of her garden, waiting for the first neighbors to arrive. One by one, familiar faces emerged, some hesitant, others curious. Emma greeted them with a warm smile, gesturing for them to come in. "Thank you for coming," she called out, trying to project confidence. "We have some amazing plants to share with you today." Zektar stood beside her, his presence calming. He waved to the crowd, a gesture filled with warmth and openness. Emma could see the curiosity in their eyes, slowly replacing the skepticism. She began to introduce the plants, explaining their importance to Earth and how they could help Zektar's planet. "Plants are not just decoration," she said, her voice steady. "They are vital to our ecosystems. Just like they are for us, they are for Zektar and his home. We all depend on them." Zektar stepped forward, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Thank you for gathering here today," he began, his voice resonant with sincerity. "On my planet, we have lost many of our plants due to ecological imbalance. Your plants can help us restore what was lost." As he spoke, Emma noticed the shift in the crowd's energy. Questions began to arise, and people leaned in, eager to learn more. Zektar's passion was contagious, and Emma found herself getting swept up in the excitement. Gradually, the atmosphere transformed from skepticism to intrigue as the neighbors discussed the plants, their uses, and their significance. Laughter and shared stories filled the air, weaving a tapestry of connection. Emma felt a sense of relief washing over her. Perhaps they were indeed breaking down walls of misunderstanding. With each moment, Zektar's presence seemed to bridge the gap between their worlds, turning fear into friendship. Emma could see the potential for a shared future, where humans and aliens could learn from one another. As the event wound down, Emma felt a renewed sense of hope. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her heart swelling with gratitude. "If you're interested in taking some plants home or learning more, please let me know." The neighbors began to mingle, exchanging numbers, and Emma couldn't help but smile. She caught Zektar's eye, and he nodded at her, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory. "Leave a like to help the channel grow," she thought as she watched the community embrace the unexpected. Today, they had taken a step towards unity, and it was just the beginning. Emma felt a surge of excitement for the journey ahead as she hugged Zektar, knowing that their mission was far from over. Together, they would continue to change hearts and minds, one plant at a time. As Emma and Zektar continued their mission, a sense of urgency began to settle in. The days were passing quickly, and the alien's revelation about the dire state of his planet weighed heavily on Emma's mind. Each day they spent together, building connections within the community, felt like a step in the right direction, but deep down, she knew time was not on their side. "Zektar, how much longer do we have?" Emma asked one afternoon as they were sorting through the plants they had collected. She looked at him, her brow furrowing with concern. "Not long, Emma," he replied, his voice steady but tinged with a hint of sadness. "Our world is deteriorating faster than I anticipated. The plants we need must be gathered before the next lunar cycle, or we risk losing everything." Emma took a deep breath, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. She realized that this wasn't just about plants, it was about a whole ecosystem, a world hanging in the balance. "We need to get more people involved. The community has been so supportive, but we need them to act, not just watch," she said, determination igniting her spirit. "Perhaps a community event would encourage more people to participate," Zektar suggested, his large eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope. "We could educate them about the plants and their importance, not just for me, but for Earth as well." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "That's a brilliant idea. If they see how vital these plants are, they may be more inclined to help us gather them. Plus, I could share some of my gardening techniques. It might inspire them to cultivate their own plants and strengthen our ecosystem." As they brainstormed, Emma felt a rush of creativity. They could set up demonstrations, workshops, and even a small market where the neighbors could share their own plants and gardening tips. It would be a celebration of nature and community. "Let's do it. We'll invite everyone and emphasize the beauty of our connection with the plant world," she exclaimed, her excitement infectious. The following days were a whirlwind of activity. Emma and Zektar worked tirelessly to organize the event. They created flyers, decorated the garden, and reached out to neighbors, inviting them to join the cause. Emma's personal shopper skills came in handy as she scoured local shops for decorations and supplies that would make their event engaging and fun. As the day of the event approached, Emma felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Would the community come together? Would they understand the urgency of Zektar's mission? She found herself pacing her living room, deep in thought. What if they don't show up? What if they don't care? She murmured to herself. "Emma," Zektar said gently, pulling her from her spiral of worry. "You've done an incredible job pulling this all together. Trust in your community. They will see your passion and feel inspired." His words were like a balm, soothing her worries. "You're right. I just need to focus on what we can achieve together," she replied, her voice steadier now. "If even a few people come, we can make a difference." The day of the event dawned bright and clear. Emma rose early, her heart racing with anticipation. She set up tables in her garden, displaying the various plants they had collected, ferns, daisies, and lavender, each one carefully labeled. Zektar, dressed in a simple shirt that blended more with Earth aesthetics, helped her arrange everything, his gentle hands careful not to damage the delicate leaves. As the hour approached, Emma's excitement mingled with anxiety. She stood at the entrance of her garden, waiting for the first neighbors to arrive. One by one, familiar faces emerged, some hesitant, others curious. Emma greeted them with a warm smile, gesturing for them to come in. "Thank you for coming," she called out, trying to project confidence. "We have some amazing plants to share with you today and important information about their impact on our ecosystem." Zektar stood beside her, his presence calming. He waved to the crowd, a gesture filled with warmth and openness. Emma could see the curiosity in their eyes, slowly replacing the skepticism. She began to introduce the plants, explaining their importance to Earth and how they could help Zektar's planet. "Plants are not just decoration," she said, her voice steady. "They are vital to our ecosystems. Just like they are for us, they are for Zektar and his home. We all depend on them." Zektar stepped forward, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Thank you for gathering here today," he began, his voice resonant with sincerity. "On my planet, we have lost many of our plants due to ecological imbalance. Your plants can help us restore what was lost." As he spoke, Emma noticed the shift in the crowd's energy. Questions began to arise, and people leaned in, eager to learn more. Zektar's passion was contagious, and Emma found herself getting swept up in the excitement. Gradually, the atmosphere transformed from skepticism to intrigue as the neighbors discussed the plants, their uses, and their significance. Laughter and shared stories filled the air, weaving a tapestry of connection. Emma felt a sense of relief washing over her, perhaps they were indeed breaking down walls of misunderstanding. With each moment, Zektar's presence seemed to bridge the gap between their worlds, turning fear into friendship. Emma could see the potential for a shared future, where humans and aliens could learn from one another. As the event wound down, Emma felt a renewed sense of hope. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her heart swelling with gratitude. "If you're interested in taking some plants home or learning more, please let me know." The neighbors began to mingle, exchanging numbers, and Emma couldn't help but smile. She caught Zektar's eye, and he nodded at her, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory. "Leave a like to help the channel grow," she thought as she watched the community embrace the unexpected. Today, they had taken a step towards unity, and it was just the beginning. Emma felt a surge of excitement for the journey ahead as she hugged Zektar, knowing that their mission was far from over. Together, they would continue to change hearts and minds, one plant at a time. The community event began under the bright afternoon sun, casting a warm glow over Emma's garden. As she stood at the entrance, she could feel a mix of excitement and apprehension bubbling inside her. Her heart raced as she glanced around, hoping that people would show up and that they would be receptive to her message. Would they understand the urgency of Zektar's mission? Would they see the importance of the plants not just for Earth, but for a distant world in peril? Zektar, standing beside her, seemed perfectly at ease. His alien features radiated kindness, and the way he adjusted his simple Earth attire made him appear even more approachable. He looked around, his large eyes sparkling with curiosity and genuine interest in the humans who had gathered before them. "Emma, remember, this is about connection," he said with a gentle smile. "Your passion will be the catalyst. Just speak from your heart." She nodded, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "You're right. I need to focus on what we can achieve together." With that, she stepped forward, ready to welcome her neighbors. "Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming," Emma called out, her voice ringing out through the garden. "Today, we have some amazing plants to share with you, along with vital information about their impact on our ecosystem. We're here to show you how these plants can help not just Earth, but also Zektar's home." Curiosity flickered in the eyes of her neighbors as they stepped closer. Emma felt a thrill of hope as she observed them leaning in, eager to learn more. She began explaining the importance of the various plants displayed on the tables: ferns, daisies, and lavender, each one carefully labeled. She highlighted how they contributed to the environment, purifying the air and supporting local wildlife. "This fern here," she pointed to a lush green plant, "is not just beautiful, it's essential for maintaining moisture in the soil. Without plants like this, we risk losing our ecosystems. Zektar took a step forward, his voice resonating with sincerity. On my planet, we have lost many of our plants due to ecological imbalance. Your plants can help us restore what was lost. He gestured to the collection of plants around them, his hands moving gracefully as he spoke, drawing the attention of the crowd. Emma noticed that the atmosphere shifted as he spoke. Initially skeptical faces began to soften, and she could sense the community's curiosity growing. Zektar's passion was infectious, he embodied the urgency of their mission, and she felt herself getting swept up in it. As Emma continued to explain the various uses of the plants, she saw a few neighbors whispering to each other, their expressions shifting from doubt to interest. The more she shared, the more they began to engage. Laughter and conversation filled the air as she encouraged them to ask questions and share their own experiences with gardening. Can these plants really survive in space? One neighbor asked, scratching his head, clearly intrigued. Zektar smiled, nodding eagerly. Yes. With the right care, Earth plants can thrive in environments quite different from your own. They adapt remarkably well. He began to share stories from his home planet, explaining how their plants had unique properties that contributed to the health of their ecosystem. As the event continued, Emma realized they were building a bridge between two worlds, creating a sense of community around a shared goal. She felt her confidence grow with each passing moment. People were starting to see the plants not merely as decorations, but as vital threads in the tapestry of life, both on Earth and beyond. Leave a like to help the channel grow, Emma thought, feeling a swell of pride. They were not just discussing plants, they were cultivating relationships, understanding, and cooperation. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the garden, Emma and Zektar decided to host a mini competition for the attendees. They asked everyone to guess which plant had the highest oxygen output and why. Excitement buzzed in the crowd as families gathered around, discussing their thoughts and sharing knowledge they had about plants. Everyone, feel free to explore the plants, ask questions, and even take some home with you, Emma called out, her heart warming at the thought of these plants spreading beyond her garden. She could see neighbors engaging, helping each other, and sharing their gardening tips. As the event started winding down, Emma felt a rush of gratitude. The community was no longer just a collection of individuals, they were becoming an interconnected web of support and knowledge. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Your interest means so much to us. If you'd like to take some plants home or learn more, just let me know." People began to swarm the tables, eagerly asking about taking plants home, exchanging phone numbers, and promising to help each other with their gardens. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. They had planted not just seeds in the soil but seeds of community, understanding, and hope. As she caught Zektar's gaze, he nodded at her with a smile, a silent recognition of their shared success. They had faced skepticism and uncertainty, but together, they had transformed it into curiosity and excitement. The barriers that once stood between them and their neighbors were beginning to crumble, replaced by a growing sense of unity. "Together, we can do this," Emma said softly to Zektar, feeling the warmth of their newfound friendship and the promise of what lay ahead. With the event concluding, Emma looked around at her neighbors, who were now animatedly discussing their plans for future gardening collaborations. It filled her heart with joy to see the community come together around something as simple yet profound as plants. As the last of the sunlight dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the garden, Emma felt invigorated. It was just the beginning of their journey, and she couldn't wait to see how far they could go together. The day had been a success, not only in raising awareness about the importance of plants but also in forging connections that would last a lifetime. With a renewed sense of purpose, Emma felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that this was just the first step in their mission to save Zektar's home and protect her own. They were about to embark on an adventure that would change everything, and she was all in. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garden, Emma felt the weight of the world pressing on her shoulders. The community event had ignited a spark of interest among her neighbors, but the reality of their mission still loomed large. They needed to gather the plants quickly before Zektar's deadline, and time was running out. "Do you think we can really gather everything in time?" Emma asked, glancing over at Zektar, who was examining a vibrant red flower with a look of fascination on his face. We don't have a choice, Emma, he replied, his voice steady yet tinged with urgency. My planet depends on us finding the right species. The longer we wait, the harder it will be for me to bring them back home. Emma felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She understood now that this was more than just gathering plants, it was a race against time to save an entire ecosystem. Okay, let's make a plan. We can divide the tasks. I know a few local gardens that have the plants we need, and I can reach out to the neighbors who are interested today. Zektar nodded, his expression showing a mix of gratitude and determination. I can help with the logistics. My species has experience with ecological restoration. If you show me the plants, I can identify which ones are vital. Leave a like to help the channel grow. Emma thought, feeling a surge of energy. This was their moment, and she was ready to take it. Together, they could make a difference. They quickly sketched out a list of plants they needed and divided the neighborhoods among themselves. Emma would visit the local botanical garden, while Zektar would check the nearby parks where rare species might be found. Each felt a renewed sense of purpose as they prepared to set out. Let's meet back here in 3 hours, Emma suggested, looking into Zektar's bright eyes. We can compare what we've found and come up with a strategy for the next step. Agreed. And remember, if you encounter any humans who seem skeptical, don't hesitate to call me. I can explain our mission in a way they'll understand, Zektar replied, his confidence reassuring her. As Emma stepped out into the fading light, she felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. The air was cooler now, and the sounds of the neighborhood were shifting. Children were being called inside for dinner, and the smell of grilled food wafted through the air. It was a reminder of the simple joys of life, things she cherished deeply. A thought struck her: if Zektar's planet could be saved, it might lead to a deeper understanding between their worlds. At the botanical garden, Emma felt her heart race as she entered. The place was a treasure trove of flora, each plant offering its own unique beauty and potential. She wandered through the pathways, absorbing the vibrant colors and rich scents. She quickly jotted down the names of the ones that matched Zektar's list. Okay, we need the African violet for its resilience in harsh climates, she murmured to herself, scanning the rows of plants. And the aloe vera, if it can survive on his planet, it could be a game changer. As she approached the succulent section, she felt a sense of urgency. She was racing against time, not just for Zektar but for something much larger than herself. The plants were not just beautiful, they were potential lifelines for an alien father trying to save his home. She began to gather the plants, carefully selecting the healthiest specimens. The weight of responsibility pressed on her, but she couldn't let it deter her. You can do this, Emma, she whispered, as if the plants could hear her encouragement. We can do this. After about an hour, her arms were full of plants, and she was ready to head back. Just as she turned to leave, she overheard a group of visitors discussing a rare plant that had just been flown in from a distant planet. Curiosity piqued, she approached them. Excuse me, she said, her voice friendly. I couldn't help but overhear. What plant are you talking about? Oh, it's a xylar plant. Extremely rare. It's said to have properties that could purify water and even generate oxygen in harsh environments, one of the visitors replied, their eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Emma's heart raced. Is it available for purchase? Only for select buyers. It's not easy to come by, the visitor said, shrugging as if to say it was unlikely she could get her hands on it. Leave a like to help the channel grow. Emma thought again, feeling the adrenaline surge. What if I were to find a buyer? Would they consider letting it go? The visitor looked intrigued. If you can find a responsible buyer, then maybe. But you'd have to act fast. With that thought in mind, Emma quickly pulled out her phone and sent a message to Zektar. I found a rare plant that could help. I might be able to get my hands on it if we can find a buyer. Let's meet at the park by 7? After sending the message, Emma decided to make her way back to the garden. Time was of the essence, and she wanted to share her findings with Zektar. The weight of the plants in her arms reminded her of the burden they were trying to lift together. Meanwhile, Zektar was having his own challenges at the park. He approached a group of joggers, trying to introduce himself and explain their mission, but he was met with skepticism and confusion.
Why would you need our plants?
Are you sure you're not just trying to take them? One of the joggers asked, eyeing him suspiciously.
Zektar took a deep breath, remembering Emma's words about patience and understanding. I understand your concern. I am not here to take from you. I am here to ask for your help.
My planet is dying, and your plants could save it.
With each passing moment, he felt the urgency of their mission weighing heavier.
His voice softened as he added, I am a father. I want to ensure my children have a future.
If we can work together, we can make a difference.
The joggers exchanged glances, and Zektar could sense the shift in their demeanor.
Curiosity began to replace their skepticism. What kind of plants do you need? One of them finally asked.
Zektar's eyes lit up with hope. I need plants that can survive harsh conditions and provide oxygen.
If you can help me, it would mean everything.
In that moment, Zektar felt the connection between their worlds begin to take root. They were no longer just two species divided by the vastness of space, they were two communities that could come together to support one another. As Emma arrived back at the park, she saw Zektar animatedly discussing their mission with the joggers. She felt a rush of pride. They were gaining traction, and the community was starting to warm up to Zektar's plight. Hey, Zektar, she called out, running towards them with her arms still loaded with plants.
I found some great specimens. We need to talk.
As they convened to share their findings, Emma felt a sense of unity forming, a bond that went beyond their individual missions. They were in this together, and with every passing moment, they were one step closer to achieving their goal.
Comment what your favorite moment was and turn on notifications. Emma thought, feeling the excitement building.
They were no longer just strangers, they were allies working toward a common cause, and together, they would find a way to save Zektar's home and enrich their own lives in the process. The storm rolled in quickly, dark clouds swirling above Emma and Zektar as they gathered the final plants needed for Zektar's mission. The air was thick with tension, and the scent of damp earth filled Emma's lungs. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, the urgency of their mission hanging in the balance.
Zektar, we can't let this storm ruin everything we've worked for.
Emma shouted over the howling wind, her voice strained as she struggled to keep the plants secure in her arms.
I know, Emma. We must hurry.
Zektar replied, the determination in his voice cutting through the chaos around them. He was moving swiftly, his alien form darting between the plants, gathering them with a finesse that Emma had come to admire. As the first raindrops began to fall, large and heavy, Emma glanced at the sky, her heart racing.
We don't have much time.
If we don't get these back to the safe area, we'll lose everything. Zektar nodded, his large, shimmering eyes wide with concern.
I will create a shield. It will protect the plants from the rain.
He focused, and a faint green glow surrounded him, enveloping the plants in a shimmering barrier. Emma watched in awe as the rain splattered against the shield, bouncing off harmlessly. Wow, that's incredible, she exclaimed, her spirits lifting slightly. But we still need to get to shelter before it gets worse. With the shield in place, they made their way across the park, dodging puddles as the rain turned into a torrential downpour.
The wind howled, whipping at their clothes and making it difficult to see. Emma could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins.
This was not the way she had envisioned their day going. Just a little further, she shouted, pointing to the nearby pavilion where they had planned to set up their gathering area. As they reached the pavilion, Zektar lowered the shield, and they rushed inside, panting and soaked.
Emma quickly looked around, assessing the situation.
We need to make sure the plants stay dry, she urged, arranging them underneath the pavilion's roof. I can help keep them safe, Zektar said, raising his hands once more. The green light pulsed around the plants, forming a protective dome that shimmered like a force field.
Emma sighed in relief, grateful for Zektar's abilities.
Leave a like to help the channel grow, she thought, feeling the thrill of their teamwork. They were in this together, and every moment counted. As the storm raged on outside, Emma took a minute to catch her breath.
I can't believe we're actually doing this.
I was so worried about not finding the right plants, and now here we are, just trying to keep them alive. Zektar turned to her, his expression earnest. You have been invaluable to me, Emma.
Your knowledge of Earth's plants is remarkable. I could not have done this without you. A warm blush crept onto Emma's cheeks. Thanks, Zektar. That means a lot coming from you.
She smiled, feeling a bond forming that went beyond their initial mission.
Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder boomed overhead, startling them both. Emma jumped, her heart racing again. Do you think it will stop soon?
Zektar looked out into the storm, the rain hammering down with relentless intensity. I cannot predict the weather, but we must stay vigilant. The storm could cause more than just water damage. The two of them fell into a comfortable silence, listening to the rain and the distant rumbles of thunder.
Emma thought about everything they had accomplished together so far.
From that first day when she had watered her plants, feeling the tranquility wash over her, to now, fighting against a storm for a cause greater than herself.
Do you ever wonder what will happen after we gather the plants? She asked, turning to Zektar. I mean, how will you get them back to your planet? He paused before answering, his gaze thoughtful. It is a complicated process.
My species has developed technology to transport items across great distances. It will be difficult, but if we succeed, it could restore my home.
Emma felt a pang of empathy for Zektar. I can't imagine what that must be like. To have your home in such danger.
It makes me realize how important it is to take care of our environment here too. Zektar nodded in agreement.
Your connection to your plants is admirable.
It is through nurturing that we can find solutions to our problems.
Your world has much to teach mine.
Just then, a particularly fierce gust of wind rattled the pavilion, and rain splattered against the sides. Emma's heart sank as she noticed the plants beginning to shiver under the force of the storm.
We can't let this happen, she exclaimed, rushing to the edge of the shield.
Before she could reach them, the roof of the pavilion creaked ominously.
Emma, be careful.
Zektar warned, stepping forward to shield her with his body. The sound of splintering wood filled the air as a section of the roof began to give way.
We need to hold this together.
Zektar shouted, his green light flickering as he concentrated on maintaining the shield and supporting the pavilion. Emma joined him, focusing all her energy on the plants, her hands stretched out towards them. Come on, stay strong, she whispered, willing them to hold on. As the rain poured harder, Emma's mind raced.
What if we move them to the other side of the pavilion?
There's more shelter there.
Yes. Quickly.
Zektar urged, and they both sprang into action. With the plants shielded by Zektar's energy, they carefully relocated them, making sure they were all safe from the deluge. Just as they finished, a loud crash reverberated through the air, and a gust of wind tore through the pavilion, sending debris flying. Emma and Zektar ducked, narrowly avoiding a large piece of wood that had fallen from above.
Are you okay? Emma asked, her heart pounding in her chest.
I am unharmed, Zektar replied, scanning the area.
But we must find a way to secure this structure. If it collapses, we lose everything. Emma's mind raced. What if we use the materials around us? We could reinforce the roof. Zektar looked impressed. An excellent idea. We can work together to create a barrier against the storm. Comment what your favorite moment was and turn on notifications. Emma thought, excitement bubbling within her.
They were more than just a human and an alien now, they were partners, facing a challenge together.
With determination, they scavenged the area, using fallen branches and other debris to reinforce the pavilion. Emma felt a sense of purpose, channeling her energy into every movement.
The rain continued to pour, but their teamwork and quick thinking began to turn the tide. As they worked, Zektar shared more about his planet. We have faced many challenges, but the survival of my species relies on our ability to adapt and learn from others.
I see that in you, Emma.
I guess we're not so different after all, Emma mused, feeling a warmth in her heart.
Just like your planet needs saving, so does mine. We can learn from one another.
With their combined efforts, they managed to stabilize the pavilion, creating a secure space for the plants.
As the storm continued to rage outside, Emma felt a surge of hope.
They had faced this chaos together, and they would come out stronger on the other side.
As the storm raged outside, the relentless sound of rain against the pavilion created a rhythmic symphony that echoed Emma's heartbeat.
Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She and Zektar had worked tirelessly, their bond forged in urgency and a shared purpose, and now they found themselves on the precipice of something monumental.
"Do you think we'll be able to save them all?" Emma asked, glancing at the plants they had managed to secure in the makeshift shelter.
The vibrant greens looked fragile against the backdrop of the storm. Zektar's luminous eyes flickered with determination.
"We must believe we can. Each plant represents hope, not just for my world, but for yours as well. Every action we take matters." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words settle in her heart.
She thought about how her life had changed since meeting Zektar, how she had gone from simply watering her plants in solitude to fighting for their survival alongside an alien from another world. "It feels like we're fighting more than just a storm," she said, her voice steadying.
"We're fighting for the future."
With a sudden gust of wind, the pavilion shook, and Emma felt a surge of panic.
What if it all collapses? What if we lose everything?
Zektar stepped closer, his presence radiating calm.
"Then we will rebuild. Together. I have seen the resilience of your species. You thrive in the face of adversity. It is one of your greatest strengths."
"Just like plants," Emma mused, a small smile creeping onto her face despite the chaos around them.
"They bend but don't break."
"Yes, exactly," he replied, his expression softening.
"And just as you nurture your plants, you nurture your community.
They will understand the importance of this mission if you show them."
In that moment, Emma felt a spark of inspiration. What if we turn this into an opportunity? We can't just hide away in this pavilion. We need to show the community what's at stake.
We should invite them to help us, to be a part of something bigger. Zektar nodded, his energy pulsing with excitement.
"A gathering.
It will not only raise awareness but also strengthen your community bonds.
They will come to see the value of what you are doing." Emma's eyes brightened. "Yes. If we could organize a small event, we could educate them about the plants and the urgency of saving them.
We can demonstrate the technology you have that can help." "Your passion is contagious," Zektar said, and Emma felt a rush of pride.
"Let us prepare for this. Time is of the essence."
As the storm began to subside, they quickly made plans for the community gathering. Emma crafted a list of tasks while Zektar used his advanced communication device to send out invitations to their neighbors. They only had a few days to prepare, but the thought of rallying her community gave Emma renewed energy. The next day arrived with a muted sky, the air still thick with moisture. Emma stood outside her apartment, gazing at the gathering clouds. She was nervous, but the excitement bubbled within her, driving her forward. If they could unite for this cause, maybe they could change the perception of plants and the environment in their community. As the sun broke through the clouds, Emma watched as her neighbors began to arrive. She greeted them with a smile, even as her heart raced.
"Thank you all for coming.
I know this might seem unusual, but I promise it's for a good reason." Zektar stood beside her, his shimmering form a curious sight that many regarded with skepticism.
Emma took a deep breath and began her presentation. "Today, we're not just here to talk about plants.
We're here to talk about survival, both for Earth and for Zektar's home." As she spoke, she could see the doubts in their eyes shift to intrigue. Zektar demonstrated his technology, explaining how it could help them cultivate the plants they needed to save his world. Emma could feel the energy in the air change. There was a sense of urgency that pulled everyone together. "Leave a like to help the channel grow," she thought, feeling the momentum building. The crowd began to engage, asking questions and sharing their thoughts. Some were skeptical, voicing concerns about the alien presence in their community. But Emma stood firm, her heart racing as she addressed their fears.
"I understand that this is new and different. But think about what we can achieve together. We have the power to make a difference. As the discussions deepened, Emma noticed Zektar connecting with people in ways she hadn't anticipated.
He listened intently, his gentle demeanor putting others at ease, and they began to share their own stories about their gardens, their struggles, and their victories. "I never thought I'd be inspired by an alien," one neighbor chuckled, and laughter rippled through the crowd. By the end of the day, Emma felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. They had formed a bond, a community united by a shared purpose. Zektar's presence had transformed their perception, turning skepticism into curiosity, and curiosity into action. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the gathered crowd, Emma glanced at Zektar.
"You did it," she said softly. "You helped them see." Zektar's eyes shimmered with pride. "Together, we have ignited a spark. This is only the beginning. Comment what your favorite moment was and turn on notifications," Emma said, smiling at the eager faces around her. They were ready to take on the world, to nurture their environment and each other. As the event wrapped up, Emma felt a rush of hope. They were no longer just a personal shopper and an alien, they were partners, champions of their beloved plants and the larger community. And with that partnership, Emma understood that they could face any storm that came their way. The storm may have initially threatened to tear them apart, but it had instead woven them together, creating a tapestry of resilience and hope that would carry them into the future. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the neighborhood, Emma Patel stood on her balcony, reflecting on the whirlwind of events that had transpired in her life since meeting Zektar. The chaos of the past weeks had transformed not only her garden but the very fabric of her community. The vibrant hues of her houseplants swayed gently in the evening breeze, a reminder of the life she had nurtured and now shared with others. Emma's heart swelled with pride as she recalled the community event they had organized. What once felt like an insurmountable challenge had turned into a rallying cry for her neighbors. She had witnessed firsthand how fear could be replaced by curiosity and how skepticism could be transformed into support. It was truly a testament to the power of connection and understanding. "I never imagined I could inspire this much change," she mused to herself, her thoughts drifting to Zektar, who had been an unexpected catalyst in this journey. The alien had returned to his home planet with the precious plants they had gathered together. Emma felt a pang of longing in her chest, knowing that her friend was now light years away. But it wasn't just about their friendship, it was about the mission they had embarked upon, the commitment to save his world and, in turn, nurture her own. She could still hear Zektar's voice, filled with hope and gratitude. "You have shown me the resilience of humanity, Emma. Your bond with your plants is more profound than I ever understood." Emma smiled at the memory. The plants on her balcony seemed to echo those sentiments, their leaves shimmering as if acknowledging her resolve. She had continued to care for them, not just as a hobby but as a promise to Zektar and to herself. Each watering session became a moment of reflection, a reminder of the importance of nurturing life, no matter the form it took. As days turned into weeks, Emma noticed a shift in her neighborhood. People who once hurried past her apartment now stopped to chat, sharing gardening tips and exchanging seeds. The community had blossomed, inspired by her journey and the shared goal of environmental awareness. The once skeptical neighbors had transformed into a close-knit group, united by a newfound appreciation for nature. Emma had never felt more connected to her community. One afternoon, as she tended to her plants, her neighbor Maria approached her, a basket of freshly picked tomatoes in hand. "Emma," she called out, her voice cheerful. "I brought you some of my harvest. Let's have a little potluck this weekend. Everyone's been talking about how to keep the momentum going after the event." Emma's heart warmed at the thought. "That sounds wonderful, Maria. I'd love to host it here. We can share recipes and maybe even create a small garden project together." "Exactly. With all the new interest in gardening, I think we could start a community garden. What do you think?" Maria's eyes sparkled with excitement. Emma nodded enthusiastically. "Yes. I love that idea. It would bring us all together even more. Plus, we can grow some plants that Zektar could use to help his world." The thought of working together on a community garden ignited a sense of purpose in Emma. Every plant they nurtured would serve as a bridge between their worlds,
a living testament to their commitment to the environment. Leave a like to help the channel grow, she thought, envisioning the support they would receive as they shared their journey. As the weekend approached, the anticipation in the community grew. Neighbors began bringing tools, seeds, and ideas. Emma organized everything meticulously, her heart racing with excitement. The potluck was not just about food, it was about celebrating their collective efforts and the friendships they had formed through this shared goal. On the day of the event, the atmosphere was electric. The sun shone brightly, and laughter filled the air as families gathered in her yard. Tables were adorned with colorful dishes, each reflecting the diverse backgrounds of her neighbors. Sharing stories, they exchanged not just recipes but also laughter and ideas about their gardening endeavors. After the meal, Emma stood up, her heart full. "Thank you all for coming today. This isn't just a potluck, it's a celebration of our community and our love for the environment. Together, we can make a difference." The crowd erupted in applause, and she felt a swell of pride. "We're not just growing plants, we're growing a community that cares about the earth and each other." As the afternoon wore on, they gathered to discuss the community garden project, brainstorming ideas and taking notes. Emma felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her, realizing how far they had all come since Zektar had arrived. They were no longer just individuals, they were a community united by a purpose. Comment what your favorite moment was and turn on notifications. Emma encouraged, her heart brimming with hope for the future. She envisioned updates about their garden, how it would flourish over time, becoming a sanctuary not just for plants but for friendships and learning. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Emma looked around at the smiling faces of her neighbors. She felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that this was just the beginning. The connection she had forged with Zektar had rippled through her life, touching those around her in ways she never expected. With a renewed sense of purpose, Emma knelt down and planted a seedling that Zektar had once admired. She could almost hear his voice, filled with encouragement. "You've taught me that nurturing is not just for plants, it's for people, too." As she watered the seedling, she felt a wave of hope wash over her. Their efforts would not only help Zektar's planet but also strengthen the bond within her community. The future looked brighter, and as they all worked together, she knew they could overcome any obstacle. With her heart full and a smile on her face, Emma looked up at the stars beginning to twinkle in the night sky. She whispered a silent promise to Zektar, wherever he was. "We'll keep the plants alive, together." And with that thought, she knew that their friendship, nurtured across galaxies, would always be a guiding light, reminding her of the beauty of connection, resilience, and the importance of caring for each other in the world they shared.